All psychological concepts, no matter how modern or caring they seem, ultimately split a person into two roles: subject or object. They just don't say it outright. Instead of admitting you're in the object position, being controlled, judged, fixed, they say, let's work on your trauma, let's get you back in resource, let's patch up your self-esteem. But it's all servicing the object role. A subject does not fix self-esteem. They don't have self-esteem. They have awareness of themselves as the source. An object is always a target of someone else's action. It exists in reactive logic. It's judged, given advice, corrected. It lives under someone else's gaze, calling its desires weird, its boundaries harsh, its anger problematic. It adapts even when it protests. It's still trapped in someone else's coordinate system. A subject doesn't prove they're right or beg for validation. They don't engage in someone else's frame. They don't argue because they don't accept the rules of the game where they have to explain themselves. They don't justify because they don't see themselves as an object of evaluation. They don't play the role of the good, vulnerable, processing person. They refuse to be material for anyone's work. Subjectivity isn't a personality type or trait. It's a point of assembly where you stop referencing yourself against an external perspective. It's the moment you stop allowing anyone to have the right to judge your existence, your words, your actions. That's when the phrase emerges, needing no defense or explanation. I don't consider myself an object of your evaluation. This isn't a rejection of dialogue, it's a rejection of the architecture that places you on a scale of someone else's ideas about normalcy, adequacy, or right to speak. At that moment, the entire structure of power in therapy, family, society loses its grip. Because it depends on your agreement to participate. You agree to be seen, understood, accepted. A subject doesn't agree. They exist independently of others' reactions. Subjectivity isn't a gradual becoming. It doesn't emerge from processing. It's a point of rupture. The realization that everything you tried to build, good relationship, safe communication, trust, was built on a fundamental error. You allowed yourself to be viewed as an object, and you upheld it. A subject doesn't win in the system. They exit it, not through strength, but through the ability to see the architecture and refuse to play along. Subjectivity is a structural incompatibility with the reality where everything is subject to evaluation, interpretation, and control. An object can be analyzed, explained, modeled. It can be reduced to functions, reactions, deviations from the norm. The entire system operates on objects, even when it claims otherwise. Psychotherapy promises to recognize the subject, but uses interpretation as its main tool, thereby plugging the person back into the object matrix. A subject cannot be understood because it isn't meant for understanding. It doesn't exist as a puzzle for analysis. It simply is. A subject is a structure that doesn't reflect. It doesn't respond to feedback because it doesn't seek it. It doesn't need correction because it doesn't exist as a mistake. It cannot be understood because any attempt to explain it is already a reduction. It doesn't ask for recognition, doesn't demand validation, doesn't insist on being perceived correctly. It's not a result of external reading, but the source of a signal that can't be edited without destroying the structure. That's why subjectivity is perceived as a threat. Not because it's aggressive, but because it doesn't fit into others' frameworks. It offers no foothold for manipulation, no predictable reaction, no way to slot it into normalcy. A subject can't be integrated, only destroyed or pushed out. In a system built on hierarchy, control, and identification, a subject is a glitch. It can't be tracked, classified, optimized. It exists beyond the interpretable, making it unbearable for the system's architecture. Saying, "I'm not an object of your evaluation" isn't a gesture of self-assertion. It's a refusal to participate in a structure where evaluation is a form of control. A subject doesn't seek approval because it doesn't engage in bargaining. It doesn't ask to be understood because its meaning cannot be reduced to interpretation. It doesn't adapt because it doesn't play the game. This isn't resistance. It's a fundamental incompatibility with a system where meaning must be described, verified, and validated. A subject doesn't need description. It exists, and it's enough.